Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy. I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. And today I'm going to talk to you about another film that I believe is severely underrated. You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, currently on Amazon. It is an Amazon film that released back in 2017. I saw this in theaters. This unique genre band of psychological thriller action. It's a story about a man named Joe who moonlights as a somewhat of a hitman, but uses the weapon of choice is a hammer, who goes around rescues little girls from a sex trafficking. And one night, one mission on one of the missions that he is on goes wrong after one of his employees is suddenly killed and finds out there's a bigger, I would say, bigger conspiracy that lies within the rescue of his latest target. This film, I guess, is based off a novel, and it's probably the first Lynn Ramsey film I've seen. Then after that, I saw the We Need to Talk About Kevin. This is a very unique film, and I don't know if this is Lynn Ramsey's style because she hasn't directed a lot of movies, but she's more drawn to psychological thrillers, more on the character psyche, where it seems like the film feels a little bit disjointed, but it's disjointed because the character mentally feels out of place or just feels confused, feels unsure about the scenarios that they're in. And it's more with the character trying to, I would say, put the pieces back together, kind of like a puzzle of from the point of where they're lost mentally to where they're where everything kind of makes sense to them now. This film is actually a very short film. It's like a 90-minute picture. What is it like? Yeah, 90 minutes. It's kind of, I would say, straight to the point, but it does have that slow pace. This is probably another example of an art house action film. This is probably one of my favorite Joaquin Phoenix's roles, and probably one of the rare action pictures that he's been in. This film actually won him Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival, and Joaquin Phoenix plays a mentally scarred man named Joe who feels very suicidal. His character tries to kill himself pretty much throughout the whole film, where it's kind of playfully to where it's kind of to the point where he's intent, where his character feels lost, where his character's kind of not all there. So he risks his life to moonlight as a somewhat as a underground hitman to he moonlights as an underground hitman to try to infiltrate any missing girls who's been kidnapped and sold into the sex trade that's somewhere in New York City. Similar situation to Norman Bates. He lives with his mother, and he and his mother have a um, you know uh, relationship that it may debate whether or not it was a relationship might be an abusive one and parent sexual relationship, where it's kind of hinting at that. Like the movie has a lot of hints to his character and what's traumatic into his life. He used to be an FBI agent who's haunted by the I guess on a previous encounter when he was an FBI agent, he's been haunted by the sight of dead girls that he tried to rescue, and it's been haunting him ever since. I think his character also is an Iraqi veteran who's served in the war, who also is dealing with trauma with that, and it deals with, from what I've understood from the film, of I would say a man's I guess, nature to protect the innocents, most particularly young girls who are taken advantage of. And the movie kind of, I guess, makes you think that may actually be happening in the film or may not. It may just be in um, Joaquin Phoenix's imagination. His character, his name is Joe, which I don't think so. I think it's actually happening. I think his mind is just very dysfunctional, that he is losing sight on what he's trying to fight for. I think for his character, because his character, again, has sunk into great depression, and the only uplifting inspiration he finds is to go out to risk his life to rescue these girls. And there are some really good sequences in here. One of my favorite scenes in here is when he raids this apartment complex where he rescues a few girls and finds the girl that he's been assigned to find, and breaks her out of the apartment complex. And then the police officers who raids the motel that he stays at and kidnaps her, and then he takes them down to apprehend both of the, actually not both of them, one of the crooked police officers. And I remember seeing that scene for the first time. I thought that was a very intense and scary scene. And then you had like the radio um, um, noise kind of pop up throughout the durations of that scene, kind of gives it a little more intensity. And the editing is very unique with here because the movie again feels disjointed, but it also feels like you're also experiencing what Joe is going through, his dysfunction, his torment, his traumatized of failing to, I guess, overcome his trauma. And you can see it's taking a toll on him, like mentally. And what I really noticed about this film, that it doesn't have a lot of dialogue, especially coming towards Joaquin Phoenix's character Joe. You see him very tortured. And another scene I thought might be iconic in future films is the scene where he tries to bury his mom in a lake, and you see him floating, and the music behind it just plays beautifully, kind of like a painting. This is one of the films I would say be open to it, because it's a thriller. To its core, it's a thriller. It's a psychological thriller, but it's a thriller where you kind of don't know where the film is going when it comes to style. Otherwise, the story kind of plays predictably a little bit, but it doesn't tell you um, exactly what's going on until it actually happens. You're kind of It's the kind of movie you're kind of there to enjoy the ride. But again, it's I think it's one of Joaquin Phoenix's best movies. I mean, he's a great actor regardless. But this is one of those movies to where you kind of have to be open and let the film kind of just take it to where it needs to go. Especially with the ending, I thought the ending was actually very surprisingly creative, where you think it's going to end a certain way, and then the filmmaker switches it to another, and then you're there kind of just wondering how this is going to conclude. And that's where that ending point, when the movie had a resolution, it ends in a very hopeful note. But it was one to where I did not expect, and it left me like really curious as to if certain things or if certain events in the film actually happened. But this film I thought was awesome. It was really good. You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix. Have you seen it? Comment below, let me know if you have, what you thought about it, and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.